Damn, did I remember to send the link to Jack? Hi, guys. Sorry, you guys are catching me as I'm trying to remember if I did my job today. Yes, I did. Good. Okay. He's probably sleeping right now. Hi, guys. Welcome to the show. This is Monkey in the Morning. I'm your host, the Ranting Monkey, and I am way more annoyed than I sound right now. Hope you guys are well. Hope you had a great Valentine's Day. I did. I had a really good day, aside from pain, because, oh, man, we go out shopping, right? It's Saturday, so it's our normal shopping day, groceries and such. But we also like to do a lot of window shopping kind of stuff. And we leave the house, we get to the gas station because we need to get some gas. And immediately my back went, this is a bad idea. And so the whole fucking day was just painful. Oh, it sucked. But I had a great time because I was out with my wife and it's Valentine's Day. And there are a few people that I'd rather hang out with than my family, especially my wife. And so I had a really good day. We ended up in a Walmart and people didn't annoy me there, which is kind of a rarity on most days. I am that old guy that's just like, fuck all these people. And that's not true. It's fuck those people. There was one lady who annoyed me because we're in an aisle and I'm looking at something and our cart is right up against the side. We're looking, and for some reason, in a huff, there's plenty of room around us. This Walmart has very wide aisles, and she makes sure to huff as she passes us to cut right in front of us and then move up about 4 feet to get the product she wanted. There was no reason for that fat bitch to huff at me, but everybody's angry these days, so When Monkey's annoyed, it means it's a good show for us. This one might not be because I'm going to be talking about math and math concepts. Wombatanis, can I just call you Wombat? Wombat's birthday. This one is for you, and a 1 and a 2. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Wombat. Yes. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Hope you have a good one. I really do. But we'll get to that. I had a great day. I did. And came home and couldn't get to sleep for a long time. And then I finally fall asleep and I wake up and it's so cute. I went to sleep about 6, I guess. And I wake up around 8 and I look over in the bed next to me. And Phoebe, who normally lays at the bottom of the bed, is just sprawled completely across Lady Monkey's side of the bed in a way she never lays. And it was almost like she was trying to keep mom out of the bed, which is really, really cute. Yeah. And then she heard Lady Monkey moving around. So she gets up and runs out. And then Lady Monkey comes in to get dressed. And Phoebe jumps back up and lays on her blankets so that she can't pull the blankets down to get into bed. It's funny watching that cat bully Lady Monkey because Lady Monkey doesn't have to put up with it. But she does all the time. Phoebe does that to me. I just lift the blanket and she walks her little ass over. Lady Monkey will get in around the cat. Like, just move that damn cat. It's fine. She's bullying you. Stop let her doing that. Stop let her do that. Anyway, so I get some sleep. I go back to sleep after that and woke up maybe hour and a half ago. Minding my own business, watching YouTube videos, getting ready for the show. And it's like, I haven't been really on Twitter in a while. Let me go over to Twitter and see what's going on over there. And I hate people. I don't like people. Now, as I said before, we're going to get into some maths, as the British say, because for some reason they have multiple maths instead of just the one the rest of us use. And I see this stupid thing. It says, what is the correct answer? It says, everyone gets this wrong. 6 plus 6 times 6 times 0. And then it has Cat Turd's answer of 0, which, by the way, we'll get to it being wrong in a minute. But the thing that pissed me off was that, as you can see, this is a screenshot. I didn't take this screenshot. Somebody screenshotted this and put the caption, "This is why shampoo has instructions." And I immediately got so fucking annoyed. I wrote the longest post I've wrote on Twitter in forever. And it's hard for me to write posts because with the way I see now, with the blind spots in my eye, I can't see exactly what I'm typing. And so it takes me a while. If I miss a letter or something, I don't see it until I'm like 2 lines in. But I was just fucking annoyed at that. Shio, thank you. To unannoy you, a joke. A Super Bowl halftime show had a horrible looking field considering how many Mexicans were standing around. Yeah, they had a lot of long grass on there. They need to get that shit taken care of. Thank you, Shio. I appreciate it. And yes, the answer is 6. The answer is 6. However, there is a world where Cat Turd's right here. And it's the world me and him grew up in. I can't speak for everybody my age, but when we were growing up, a problem like this, we were told you just go left to right. There's no parentheses. There's no exponents on it. It's just left to right. That's what we were taught. And in that world, the answer here is 0 because the last part of the equation there is 6 times 0, which everything that comes before, once you times it by 0, becomes 0. Now, we use a system called PEMDAS. That is parentheses, exponents. Am I saying that right? Am I Candace Owensing a exponent? I don't think I'm thinking about this as I'm getting the show ready. I'm like, have I ever said that word out loud? Anyway, and then you do multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. And in the rules of math, there is a way that multiplication and addition and these they have an equal value in which way you do the order of operations. And by the way, do you guys know it's what is it, BOMDAS or BODMAS over in England? Because yeah, there it is. Evolve just did it. Oh, you guys do the backward ass British way. The British had to be different. So instead of parentheses, brackets, order, and then division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. Because the British have to be different. That's why we got metric. Yeah, it's like, hey, the imperial system works too well, confusing people with powers to 12. We can't multiply it by 12. Anyway, sorry. But what bothers me about this is that this kind of equation being put on the screen, and I know there's people like, it's not an actual equation. You're right. There's no equal sign. And frankly, if you're doing math, you're actually supposed to be making the equation as easy to understand. That's why we use the PEMDAS system. It's because we need a simplified way of doing things. But when it comes to math, there's no good reason that we do multiplication before addition. It's not like a universal law. Like a universal law in math would be like 5 times 1 equals 5. It doesn't matter how you change that around. If you do 1 times 5, it's going to equal 5. So you have a group of 5 chickens. One group of 5 chickens, 1 times 5 is 5. But if you take those 5 chickens and put them each in a group of 1, you now have 5 groups of 1 chicken, which is also 5. That's universal. It doesn't change. The only reason that we do multiplication before addition is because math people got together and for simplicity's sake, they went, we should do multiplication before division. Because in the real world, there's not a good reason for this equation to ever exist. For 99% of us, you're never going to be sitting at home and going, okay, I have 6 potato chips and I have 6 more potato chips and I have 6 times that amount of those potato chips. And then I have 6 times more of those potato chips. And then I have 0 times those potato chips. It's not useful in an everyday setting. Most math we learn is not used in an everyday setting. Only the MDOS part of that, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. Even for a field like accounting, which is a math-dominated field, for most accounting, all you need to know is basic math. You need to be pretty good at it, and you might be able to make your life a little easier. See, I've always called algebra math made hard because all algebra is taking simple math, which might be a really, really long math problem, and then breaking it down. So instead of saying 3 times 3 times 3, we say 3 cubed. And now you got to start doing some math problems that you could have just went 3 times 3 times 3, 3 to the third power. And while it is math made hard for normal people, for math nerds, it's actually math made simple. It simplifies the whole process. Hang in there with me, guys. I have a reason for all of this. But the point being is that the system that we use is just one we all decided. It's not a law of math. It's a rule of the math that we use. It's a convention is actually what it's called. We decided that this is the order we're going to do them in. And other than everybody deciding so that everybody's on the same page, there's no real reason for it. The reason is just so everybody's on the same page. It's not universal in the way that, 5 times 1 will always be 5. That is a universal thing that cannot change. You could do this problem right here, 6 to where the answer is 0 if you did it just left to right. And if everybody did it that way, then it would be the right answer. If everybody just agreed to it, because it's a rule, it's not a law. Is that making sense? Okay. The reason I bring this up is because you see these things online. You see them, we're like, look at the sign. Everyone gets this wrong. This is just nerds trying to feel smarter. And in this case, I don't think that chick's a nerd. I think she probably saw somebody else say this and wanted some clout. But they do this so they can feel intellectually superior to other people. And they're doing it with math, which pisses me off, because math is pure. Math is logic. Math it doesn't matter how you feel about politics. It doesn't matter what your favorite sports team is. It doesn't matter what color your skin is. It doesn't matter what country you come from. 1 + 1 = 2, period. And there's a beauty in that. It's why I like math, because there's a logic to it. And you're using that in even if people know the concept of PEMDAS or BODMAS, whichever one you prefer, chances are they have never used it in their life past school. And if they forget it, it's not the same as needing instructions on shampoo. Not knowing that does not make you a drooling retard. It just means that you did your best, and you still, if you get 0 from this, I see how you get 0 from it. I understand it. You're wrong, but I see why you got it. Math wasn't pure after Leibniz got done with it. Do you guys remember when Polly used to be on the show? Me and him got into a math argument once. Math actually is the universal language, because it is always the same. Whether we call water water or agua or whatever the French people call it, that thing that makes us smell better, math is constant. It doesn't matter what it is, where water is just the name we gave what water is. You see what I'm saying? Same thing with math. It doesn't matter what you call 5. The 5 sticks that are there, whether you call it 5 or Zimbabwe, it's still the same thing. What's up, Jack?
Hey, how's it going? How you doing? Is that him or me?
Other people feel bad because they remember fucker. Now I'm annoyed at my internet.
Oh, what are you annoyed about?
I'm annoyed at nerds trying to use math to make other people feel bad about life.
Oh, well, look, not everybody could be a sorcerer, okay? It's apparently something you're born with, and some of us just don't have access to the magical realm.
Yeah, math is actually pretty simple, and when you get into things like algebra, it's a simplification for nerds who do longer forms of math that if they just wrote it out, probably everybody could do. But it would be so long that you get bored halfway through it. Because like if you took a regular math, have you ever read math equations and people breaking it down and doing they can become ridiculously long and drawn out for no reason. It makes sense to the math nerds. And you know what,
It
math nerds? Good for you. Seriously, good for you.
Yeah, but that's part of your nerddom. It's like sports people talking about different players and oh,
Mhm.
the coach should have done this play. And eventually, if you're not interested in that area, you start zoning out and you start thinking, "Oh my God, is he ever going to shut up about Batman?" I mean, the Heisman Trophy winner from 19 Blickety 2 that nobody cares about but him and three other
Well,
nerds.
in this context, I do make a little distinction because we are taught math in school, right? And we're not taught sport. I get your point. You're not wrong. But it actually goes to, I'm just going to say this outright. Most algebra classes should be canceled in school because it's a waste of time for kids.
Yeah.
Most people are never going to use it after their algebra class because there's no practical concept to it in most people's everyday life.
Yeah,
So,
the real world application of it is limited to a handful of STEM fields. Let's be
yes.
honest.
So, unless you're going into one of those fields or you just have a passing interest in them, it's a hobby kind of thing, there's no reason for you to ever think about it again. Maybe if you're going to go on a quiz show, I guess, and they're going to math quiz you, you're going to be a mathlete professionally. Oh God, can you imagine if that was a thing?
Please don't give Hollywood ideas.
Professional mathletes. I would actually watch that.
Ugh.
Only because not for the math side of it, just to see who turned up.
It's gonna be the type of people. Can you imagine the stench on that set? Bunch of super autists that like pee themselves when they're doing math in their head.
Hang on, I'm waiting for this to load up. Thank you, Frank. It is a hard rule that 6 plus 6 times 6 times, or 6 plus 6 times 0 equals 6 times 6 times 6 plus 6, or sorry, plus, never mind, will give you the same result. The same equation either way. It emerged in late 1800s or early 1900s. So a rule when you were a kid too. Actually, the introduction of PEMDAS in the American education system doesn't happen until 1917. Trust me, I looked it up today before I did this rant.
Yeah, I have no idea what we're talking about here, but I heard numbers and I don't believe in your blasphemy, but that equals 0, doesn't it?
No, it equals 6.
Because anything times, wait.
You're supposed to do the multiplication first and then the addition. See, Jack is from my generation where we were taught go left to right.
I forgot about that. They should have put it in parentheses like FOIL.
And see, that's another part of it. When the whole reason algebra is invented, or the equations of algebra, is for simplification. And if you're simplifying this, if you're trying to make this as simple as you can for the people who are trying to solve it, parentheses should have been used here. That would be the most simple way to do it, because even in the left to right system, we were still taught parentheses are done first.
This is one of those things that math nerds put out to make everybody feel stupid or to make themselves feel superior. Because first of all, who the fuck cares about this equation? What I hate these things where like, again, how many things do you spot here? Just solve this equation and you're in the top 1% if you get it right. Fuck off. Nobody cares. This is not something I'm ever gonna have to do in the real world. If I do, I have a calculator on my phone.
This is why people do this, is to feel superior. That whole thing you just said, if you can do this, you're in the top 1%. That's what it's done to make people who remember this, that remember that obscure year of their life, and not even much of their life, 180 days out of 1 year of your math teachings. You're like, yeah, I remember that. Cool. Good for you.
Yeah, look, some people have a
I
talent for math, others don't too.
I defy anyone to use this equation here in a real world setting where this would ever fucking come up, where you would ever have to know the correct order of doing this in your everyday life.
Yeah, maybe if you're like an engineer or something, but the average person isn't ever going to use this.
No, even
Ever.
an engineer, you wouldn't need this kind of thing.
Well, I would
And
hope not, but
if you really want to simplify it and make it into a complex equation, why not make it 6 plus 6 squared times 0? Thank you, Frank. Also, did you see they're bringing Scrubs back? Will it be like the season we pretend doesn't exist or be good? I don't have much hope for it, just because one, by the time Scrubs ends, Scrubs should have ended. And again, we're not looking at season 9 because that doesn't actually exist. Scrubs should have ended at the end of season 8 with JD walking out of the hallway, all of the people he's known throughout the years there. It was a perfect ending to that series. And then they're like, but we could do it kind of differently, and it never worked. And I just don't think, look, I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong, because Scrubs is one of my favorite shows of all time. I just don't have faith that they can bring all of these guys back 20 years later and make it. What's going to be your reason for bringing them all back to the hospital? You know what I mean?
Money.
let me get these real fast. First Rady, thank you so much. This is why I love Blueprints. It uses color for what you are meant to do for the operation, and everything is done left to right. Yeah, that would be I can see the value of that system. One of the reasons that they come up with things like parentheses and exponents and all of this shit is writing it down. There was a time, instead of parentheses, do you know what they used? They used a line over the part that is now in parentheses. But you know it's really hard to type? 6 times 5 with a line over the top of it. So a lot of it was done for the writing conventions. Assassin of the Gray, thank you so much for that double feminist $12 plus a tip. I appreciate it. My education was utter shit from an abusive and sadistic union-protected math teacher and derailed my life. Never even heard of PEMDAS. And tell that smug bitch the answer is 0. No, the right answer is 6.
Nope, 0. We've all decided. You've been outvoted. That's how this works now.
This is why it does matters, because if we don't all agree on it, we will all get different answers. Because the answer here is either 6 or 0, depending on which way. If you just go straight left to right, the answer is 0. And as I said, if everybody in the world agreed that we're just going left to right, that would be the correct answer. But that is not what has been decided. So the correct answer actually is 6. But my problem isn't even with the conventions and everything. It's with how people use this to make other people feel bad about themselves. It's been my experience, Jack. I don't want to say definitively, but it's been my experience. Most people don't like math, and a lot of it has to do with confusing shit like this. Where if it was just simply go left to right, people go, yeah, the answer is 0. That's easy. But no, it's like, no, the answer is 6. And then people are looking at it going, fuck you. Because we just make it more difficult than it has to be.
Well, they've been doing that for over a decade now. Well over a decade. They've been trying to make it more and more complicated and confusing. Common Core was a big problem for that.
I helped my daughter with her Common Core math, and the words that I used probably should not have been said in front of a child.
But 10 is your friend.
Yeah, a lot of the Common Core stuff uses the same principles of just learning words by looking at them instead of phonics.
Yeah, and that doesn't work for the majority of the population.
No.
It does work for some forms of autism. but it doesn't work for the majority of people.
Well, no, instead of doing 6 times 6 and just knowing your times tables that's 36, you need to draw out 6 boxes 6 times. But now you just count them because memorization is really hard for humans.
Well, look, the memorization's bad because then you'll learn something. It's almost like the No Child Left Behind and Common Core were designed to make people dumber.
I see. I don't put No Child Left Behind in that same thing because No Child Left Behind, even with the way it was implemented, was just these are the things they absolutely have to know and beat it into their heads.
Oh, but that's not how it was. The practical application of it. In principle, you're right. But in practical application, you couldn't fail people. So you had to, in order to keep your academic numbers up. So let's say there's a special person in my class because of inclusion, and they're bringing everybody else down because I got to slow down and teach them individually. I could just give them lower grade homework. So if everybody in the class is in 6th grade, that kid does 5th grade homework. Oh, he's not able to do that. 4th grade homework. And before you know it, that fucker's on the honor roll.
I see. Yeah, in that regard, yeah, you're right. You're right. Absolutely.
It lowered standards. And they adapted the standardized test to the lowest common denominator. So everything got dumber, and everybody in the class was dragged down through the inclusion programs that were implemented. So you had to mainstream all the like ADHD kids because they weren't retarded enough to be in special ed anymore. So you had to start putting them in regular classrooms and dragging everyone else down like the goddamn albatross on a mariner's neck. See, I worked a literary reference in.
Jared said it was a lame talking point. If you're talking about No Child Left Behind, No Child Left Behind in its concept is a great thing. Oh, hang on. I missed Tall Person's over here. I saw it and I'm sorry, Tall Person. Tall Person, thank you. Glad to catch one live. Lucky I woke up early. Happy National Gumdrop Day. Thank you, sir. I do like a gumdrop unless they're really sticky and they stick to your teeth. I don't like those ones.
Yeah, I agree.
And first, Ratty, thank you. This is for Jack to read. Oh, I won't let me send to him. Half for him, rest for transfer. It is sad. It said Ratty. I will say it however the hell I want to. Also, if you have misspelled words in Super Chat, it might not go through. Oh, I didn't know that. This is a complete side. I used to play a tank game called Tannerus or Tenoris, depending on who was playing it.
Oh.
And it had a very primitive curse filter on it. And we found this out one day when I got a brief timeout because in the general chat, I typed the words together and there was a space there, but the word was hot water. And if you write out hot water and you look at it real close, you will see the word twat in there.
Wow.
I got suspended for writing hot water in a video game.
That's really dumb. But thank you, God Randy.
It was a very, very primitive system, so is what it is.
Well,
getting back to the standardized testing and the talking point of No Child Left Behind, you have to understand at the time they were still. It's not like No Child Left Behind made it so people weren't passing the kids.
No, it made it too easy to pass everybody.
They were already doing that. They were already forcing through kids who couldn't fucking read.
Yeah,
and so the idea behind No Child Left Behind was that no, they have to be able to pass this test. But as Jack said, what they did then was instead of going, okay, we got to teach them so they pass this test, they're like, oh, let's give them an easier test.
Yeah, because otherwise you would lose federal funding.
Yes.
And this helped them boost their graduation numbers by being lazier. It was one of the worst implemented government programs I've ever seen because I actually had to interact with it because I was doing substitute teaching at the time.
The whole idea behind it was a good idea. It's the implementation was shit.
But that's what happens with a lot of these government things.
Yeah. But we had a problem at the time of people. See, the only difference between pre No Child Left Behind and No Child Left Behind, the kids were still coming out dumb either way.
Yeah.
It was just government approved the second way.
Yeah, they lowered the
Yeah.
standard and we're like, look how awesome we are. Look what we did to make things better. You didn't make things better. You made it 1,000 times worse because now you're justifying all the shitty behavior from these garbage teachers that you refuse to fire.
Let's bring our kitty back on the screen. We don't need to look at the blonde chick anymore. Now the difference between that, because you said that and like Common Core was made to make kids dumber. I disagree with you on that point, and it's the same with getting rid of phonics. It's that they thought that the kids were so dumb that this is the only way you could do it. It's a slight difference, and it leads to the same result, but it's like they're too retarded. And for the record, you should know that most of the people who think when they say things like kids can't memorize these things, what they're actually saying is, I was stupid when I was a kid and I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Don't pay attention to the other 30 kids in class who had no problem with it.
Well, you
'Cause-
know, kids are big dummy dumbs because
Yeah.
they're just little adults that they're
If you treat
called
children
physically
like they're
dumb.
stupid, children will be stupid. And if
Yeah.
you don't believe me, go look at Asian kids. Are you just saying that Asians have some innate ability to learn math better than us?
If you ask a lot of these politicians that are behind this nonsense, they will say yes.
True. But it's
Because
not.
they're a bunch of racists.
You know why the Asian kids do better?
Tiger
Because
moms.
there's expectations on them.
Yeah. There's a societal standard in most Asian countries that you will put your best effort in.
Mhm.
I was watching a documentary on Asian prisons. The episode I saw was specifically Japanese prisons. And it was the order that they do is so detail oriented. An average American would find it total hell because you're expected to have a level of conformity with everybody else. Everybody's futon has to be folded the same way. Clothes have to be hung a certain way. And if it's even an inch off, you get demerits. And your punishment is usually to sit on your knees or cross-legged for several days without interacting with anyone, without television, without reading, without writing. You just sit and stare off into space for this set number of days based on how bad your infraction was. That sounds like a literal hell.
Children will largely rise to the occasion if you let them.
Yeah,
look at Stand and Deliver. I mean, this is a granted, the Stand and Deliver, if you read the full story, they take some liberties there. I mean, all the kids come out as genius calculus kids. And in reality, many of them did, but many of them also struggled, and it wasn't quite as Hollywood terrific as it turns out in the movie.
But if you give them standards and discipline and create an environment where they're encouraged to learn, you will have better results.
Yeah. Hey, this is what's expected of you. That's what they'll do.
Expectations mean a lot, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, a lot of the problems we have in our society now are lackadaisical parents that don't want to be involved.
Well, you're not wrong, but you also have a ton of people who just make excuses for the kid.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
That is just too hard for Tommy to learn.
Well,
no, you just don't want Tommy to actually have to learn it.
If it is too hard for Tommy to learn, then maybe Tommy should be held back. But we don't fail kids anymore, thanks No Child Left Behind. We just dumb everything down, and we can't keep doing that and function as a civilization. You have to have standards.
I have an empirical example of this. When I was in middle school in Norfolk, Virginia, our school was broken up. Each grade was broken up into clusters. There was the A cluster. That's the smartest kids. The B cluster, your average students. And your C clusters, like they're going to graduate, but they're going to be cooking fries. And there's nothing wrong with cooking fries. We need people to cook fries. Mr. Jack, did you get my Streamlabs? Tall person is asking.
Oh, yep. Sorry, man. I missed it. Thank you, tall person. And some for you, Mr. Jack. Happy National Hippo Day. Insert joke about actresses here. Thank you. I'm sorry I missed that, man. I wasn't paying attention.
So you go into these clusters because in this middle school, it was 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. 6th grade is still handled like all other elementary school. You're in one class all day. But once you get into the 7th grade part of it, you start switching your classes. And I, being me, was in the A cluster. And between 6th or between 7th and 8th grade, Jack, the 7th grade teachers and the 8th grade teachers decided to switch so that the 7th grade teachers were now teaching 8 and 8th grade teachers were now teaching 7th. So my teachers carried over with me too. So from 7th to 8th grade, I have the same teachers. The only difference is that in the mid section there, some of the parents of the kids in the C cluster got really offended that their kids were retarded.
Well, sorry if your kid's dumb. Your kid's dumb. That doesn't mean it much, really.
So we still had A, B, and C clusters, but they were now all mixed. And I went from actually having to do work in 7th grade to coasting through 8th grade because they had to dumb things down so much. I didn't have to actually work. And this is what they've done all across the country. There's very few schools left that have what they used to call the gifted program.
Yeah.
For the really smart kids. And by the way, I only had like 2 classes that could have ever been considered gifted, both math. So I'm not mad about it because they took it away from me. I know there were kids in my school way smarter than I was. And that if they were trying to teach me and them at the same rate, I was the retard slowing them down.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel good.
No, I got put in the remedial classes all the time because I was lazy. I hated school. It was a miserable experience for me. But I did everybody's homework in my English class when it came to Shakespeare because I could get them all A's.
Nice.
And the teacher figured it out about 3 weeks in. But she didn't say anything because she liked me. But yeah, it's you have to be able to teach to the kids at their level and then help raise them up. And if they're doing better than other kids, they need to be in a room with other gifted kids or advanced, you could call it. Gifted is sort of sounds like there's mutants or something.
True.
So yeah, they need to bring that stuff back. But these commies, they want to cater to the lowest common denominator. Ma'am Donnie just canceled the gifted programs at the last schools that had it.
Yep. Because how dare you suggest some kids are smarter than others? And that doesn't help any of the kids. But it all goes back to the notion that they just can't do it. We got to lower the expectations for it. Lowering expectations doesn't get you good results. Like, let's put this in some practical terms for grown-ups, Jack. Let's say you're a young man in our audience and you're 25 years old, right? You've never had a girlfriend because you have some high standards. You want her to be physically fit, no STDs,
Jesus. Yeah,
have a job.
What? Not be a whore?
Not be a whore. And that's your standard. And you're like, oh, I can't find anybody like that. You know what? I'm going to reduce my standards. Instead of her being physically fit, as long as she can walk through a Walmart without getting winded, that'll be good enough. Right? And then you're like, man, damn, I can't find her. She's like, all right, as long as she can make it to the entrance of the Walmart without getting winded, that's good enough. Do you see how ugly and fat this chick's getting?
You have no idea.
Lowering standards does not get you better results. It doesn't.
No, and it never will, but it will create a dumber society. So if you're trying to create a society of useless drones that can't do anything, keep at it. You're doing great work right now.
I was talking to my wife today, and I described somebody as so herpy ridden that you could hear their scabs scrape when they walked. And she said to me, "You're really gross with your visualizations." And to me, it was just a normal comment. I just mentioned STDs, so that popped back in my head. Um, I get the goal of teaching children. I get the goal of making sure students aren't just being passed just because. And I get the ideas behind it. And I truly do think in most of these cases, they think they're doing the right thing. You have a lot of these teachers, especially like when they're getting rid of phonics and stuff. You have these teachers who are like, that's not, I couldn't learn that way. And so they thought in their head, look, this is how I learned it, and it was easier for me. So clearly it's going to be easier for everyone. I do think there's some good intention behind it.
Yeah, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions, as they say, and I found that to be
Exactly.
very accurate.
Exactly. And once you start seeing that it's not working, once you start seeing literacy rates just plummet, once you see that your eighth graders are reading at a third grade level, maybe, just maybe, we go, you know what? We fucked that up. We should fix this.
No, government never says that. You're silly.
Well, this is the problem with just the notion of progress. Change for change's sake is not a good thing. Change should happen when it makes sense, when it makes things better. But and I see this. I know it's a weird thing or a weird example to use it, but I see this with a lot of websites and apps that I use. Like, we're changing this, and it's like, why? Like, because we're supposed to change stuff.
It's so that somebody could justify their job. And
Yeah,
if you're padding your resume, you want to say, "Hey, I did this. I implemented this change." Whether
yeah.
it's for good or bad, it looks good on your resume. And most people aren't committed to their jobs anymore, so they pad their resume at a place and then leave.
There were a couple of southern states that went back to the 1980s curriculum and fixed the reading problems. They call
Yeah.
it the Louisiana Miracle, and the Louisiana Miracle is literally hooked on phonics.
Yep.
Louisiana had one of the worst reading rates. Is it the Louisiana or Missouri?
I think it's Missouri, but I'm not positive. It could be Louisiana too at this point.
Maybe it was Missouri. I forget. It's one of those two states. And they had, I think they were second to last in reading. And now they're like up at the top. I don't think they're the number one. I think they're like 8 or 9 or something like that. And literally all they did was go back to phonics. Jack, will you check your money hole?
Yeah, I was waiting on you to finish your point. Thank you, God Ratty, for the very generous donation. Oh, hey, it was the password, not the same. Why you read it, old man monkey? It did say for Jack.
It was on the screen. People could read it anyway.
Oh, hey, it is said rat T. Also, if you have misspelled words in your super chat, it might not go through. Also, keep that crack money. Keep that cask monkey. Got Jack to read it. Thank you, God Ratty.
I read what was on the screen. How dare you? It's the first time I've been in trouble for actually reading.
I doubt that highly.
That's not entirely accurate, I guess. I do think that a lot of these people try with good intentions, but when it fails, and especially with things like, God, I wish I could remember which state it was. That we'll just call it the miracle. Literally all they did was went back to phonics, and their reading scores go through the fucking roof.
Yeah, because phonics works.
Yeah.
It's been known to work for 100 years.
It's how we've taught people to read forever. And then some idiot who couldn't figure out phonics when they were little. I see this with just the rearing of children too. I had a bad experience with that kind of raising, so I'm never going to do it with my kid. And then their kid is a little bastard who ends up, shooting up his school or something.
Yeah, but as usual, these people always make excuses for their failings.
Yeah.
These are entitled people that, I mean, look at the people we've got in the education system now.
Sorry, I was
They're
wrong
the
about.
ones. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. I just want to correct this. It's Mississippi. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Jack. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was somewhere in the South. But we've got these people in education that think they're superior. They think they know everything, and they think the method that worked for them will work for everyone. Instead of actually doing any studies, they do stuff that is peer reviewed by their friends or people that are like-minded, and don't actually do any real studies anymore. So before they implement this stuff, they're not actually testing it out on children to see if the system works right. They find a select group of people like them to approve it. And we are seeing more and more of this, especially with this gender nonsense. Look at the teachers that we've got teaching stuff.
Oh,
These
yeah.
people are weird and there's something wrong with them.
Oh, God. Did you see that post that Baring had just retweeted before I started the show?
No, I was probably asleep.
It's a Reddit post from a trans teacher who said they get an erection every time they hear one of the students refer to them as she or miss.
Yeah, I don't think that's the part that's giving them the erection.
Well, it is, because this is it's the gyna whatever thing, the gynophilia thing, yeah, where it's a sexual fetish. That's what it is.
Yeah, I think it's the fact the kids are saying it.
Well, I mean, if you have that fetish, having a child fetish is probably not far behind.
So true.
Yeah. How dare you suggest people with weird sexual fetishes might have other weird sexual fetishes?
Yeah, it's a mystery.
But yeah, autogynephilia. Yeah, that's what it is. Autogynephilia. These guys who just love the idea that somebody thinks they have a vagina. I hate these people. But anyway, in regards to that equation at the top of the show, I did rip into the guy who did it, because I'm tired of people who just think they're so much better than them. Look, as somebody who knows they are smarter than most of the people he interacts with on the internet, and I'm not talking about you guys in the audience, I'm talking about the people that I respond to on Twitter. I am 100% positive I am smarter than them. But that's not why I say the things I do to them. I like being smarter than them, Jack. Well, what bugs me about it is it's usually over things that are going on right now, where, like, not remembering if you were taught it or not having been taught the PEMDAS order. That is some shit you learned in fourth grade. And maybe if you remember it from high school, you're talking ninth grade for your algebra class, maybe 10th. So if you're 20 years older than that, it's been 20 years since you've ever even thought about that, and you forgot the order. Oh, it's just like needing to be told how to use shampoo. The people I'm interacting with, they're talking about stories that are literally in the news right now and getting it wrong. I have no sympathy for them, and yeah, I do get a little bit of a kick out of pointing out that I'm smarter than them. Because if you're going to talk about it, maybe you should know. For instance, did you see Matt Christensen's latest video?
No.
It's all about the MAGA dad who murdered his daughter because they had a disagreement about Trump. Except that's literally not even close to what happened.
I was wondering about that. That sounds fishy on its face.
Yeah, so what happens is it's a British man. Well, he was born in Britain, but he's actually an American citizen, and he moves over here.
So he's a Muslim?
No, he's a white dude. His daughter, he had a daughter with a chick in England, leaves his family there, comes over here, has a new family here. His daughter comes over to visit for Christmas time-ish, something like that, because Donald Trump is just getting inaugurated when this happened. And according to the left, if you listen to them, what happened was they had an argument over Donald Trump and guns. And she goes running upstairs, and he follows her and shoots her in the chest, which would be horrible if that's what happened. But it's not what happened. Not even according to the people that were there. The argument over Trump had happened earlier in the day. And even if she ran to her room, he didn't follow her. Later in the day, they're getting ready to leave, and he pulls her into his bedroom. He says because she wanted to see his gun. Being British, there are a lot of British people who, when they come to America, what they want to do is shoot a gun.
Yeah.
Because you guys aren't allowed to. And before some Brit goes, we're allowed. Fuck off. You're not the way we are.
If you think that you can, you haven't been to America.
Right. He says he goes to show her the gun, and the gun goes off. It's I think a Glock 17. It's some kind of Glock. I think it was a 17.
Kind of calling bullshit on that.
Yeah, he quite clearly. I'm willing to believe it was an accident, but it was an accident because he was dumb. He had his finger on the trigger and accidentally. It doesn't take a whole lot to pull a trigger.
No, or there's a lot of ways you can make a gun go off that involve a trigger.
Yeah.
First of all, if you're going to show someone a gun, always make sure it's empty.
Well, here's the thing. There was no magazine in the gun. You know what he forgot to do?
Empty the chamber.
Forgot to empty the chamber.
You shouldn't have a gun. That's basic 101, dude.
My theory on this is he was pretending to shoot her. He pulled her in there to show him, and he knew that there was no magazine in it. So, I can shoot you.
Yeah.
Whoops.
If you're going to get a gun, take a safety class, for fuck's sake.
Glocks have a very heavy pull.
If he was trying to dry fire like that, like what you just described, then I could see him doing it. But you always check the chamber, and you don't aim a gun at anything that you don't want to kill. Yes. You don't fuck around like that. That's just bad gun safety all around.
Yeah, guns are not a toy and should never be treated like one.
Yeah, you're talking like, would you throw a sword at somebody? What are you, fucking psychotic? Real quick though, thank you, Evolved Potato. Did you guys see how Massey got pissed because DOJ released a list of all the politicians and important people mentioned in the Epstein documents because he was mentioned, even though he was the one that helped write the law that mandated the list? Yeah, that was because Pam Bondi's got her panties in a twist after that really bad job she did in front of Congress oversight the other day.
I didn't see Massey getting upset about it, but I mean, my guess would be he's not named in there in any kind of meaningful way.
No, they just created a list of names of people that were named in emails. Elvis Presley and Janis Joplin are on that list too. So just because a name is mentioned doesn't mean anything. But this is a petty little thing that high school mean girl Pam Bondi did to get back at him for making her look bad.
And this is, but I mean, in fairness, the way the law is written, if his name's in there, it's got to be released. You can't do it just to save, people from any embarrassment.
Yeah.
And this was the problem with the law. This was the problem with it, where I get it. We all want to see it. And I don't trust the government for redactions because they redact the stupidest shit. Literally in the Epstein files, there's parts that are redacted, and that same email is somewhere else completely unredacted. But when all you're talking about is your name is in the files, is your name in the file because Jeffrey Epstein wrote an email to somebody else saying, fuck Thomas Massey, he's an asshole? Yeah. Or is it in there because it's like Thomas Massey wants an 8-year-old? Those are not the same thing.
Exactly. Context matters, which is why we need the files unredacted in order to see the context for the files.
But if you're the person that's now linked to the Epstein files, I can see you being pissed about that.
Yeah, of course.
Because you didn't do anything, but hey, his name's in the Epstein files. Anyway. And no, I hadn't seen that because I wasn't online again today until right before the show. But yeah, in that case, the reason it's being talked about again is because a British Inquisition, not the Thomas Massey one, going back to the shooting, a British Inquisition decided that that guy was guilty of involuntary manslaughter. They
Did that
didn't have
happen
like an
here in the
actual
States?
they didn't have an actual trial, and he's a U.S. citizen and he lives here, so chances are nothing will come from it.
Yeah.
A Texas jury, or not jury, a grand jury decided not to indict. They said it was accidental without. I, if we're just being honest, he probably should be brought up on involuntary manslaughter charges.
Yeah, because it sounds like negligence.
Yeah, that was, you knowingly pointed a gun at somebody and pulled the trigger, but with his version of events, that's not what happened, and there's nothing to definitively say otherwise. So I can see the grand jury coming back and going, we don't have enough proof for an actual charge. I think common sense precludes that, but I think boys are boys and girls are girls. So what the fuck do I know?
Yeah, you monster. Look at you, bigot. Oh my gosh. With your reality. Oh, you monster.
Inquest? No, I called an inquisition on purpose because it quite clearly seems meant to convict this guy as guilty, whether he was or not.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely an inquisition.
Yeah. There's one part that her boyfriend came with her, right? And he tells the story that when they were arguing about Trump, and remember, the argument about Trump had nothing to do with the shooting. It wasn't close to it. It was much earlier. The dad also said that he had consumed a box of wine, not a big box. It's a 500 milliliter box. So like a little carton of wine. It's basically the equivalent of 3/4 of a bottle, of a normal size bottle.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd been drinking all day too. So that could have been part of it too.
Yeah. Pro tip from anybody that's thinking about getting a gun: do not drink and handle firearms.
Right. But the boyfriend tells a story that they're talking about Trump being a woman beater or woman abuser, a rapist, right? And she says to her dad, what if that was me? What if that I was one of those girls? And her dad supposedly said, I have 2 other daughters, so it wouldn't really bother me. Now,
wow.
I can see a dad saying that if you're in a family where you're joking around and it was said. I believe that happened, but I believe it was all joking, and I don't believe she ran to her room and cried afterwards. No, literally nobody else has said that happened. They were probably, there's a lot of things that if you come to my house and you hear us talking to each other, you'd be like, oh my God, they hate each other.
Yeah,
but it's all in good fun.
The British have a dry sense of humor too, so
yeah. But the left is spreading that around as though he's a MAGA dad who just killed his daughter because she didn't like Trump. And like, if you're the person out there telling that story, you're spreading that bullshit, I will call you on it, and I will do it because I'm smarter than you, and I think it's funny to make you look stupid. But you deserve it when you can just literally go read about the thing you're talking about. I'm just saying. The left are horrible people. You know, Adebisi, I almost named this stream when I was first doing it before I came across that math problem that annoyed me so much. I was going to name this the left, and actually I was going to say liberals are bad people, which I believe I've done 2 or 3 times at this point, if I'm just being honest about it. But it holds so true. They're just bad people. Have you seen what Hassan has been up to?
Which part?
His racist stuff against Chinese people that don't agree with the Chinese government.
Oh yeah, that. Well, that's an extension of what he was doing with the Vietnamese lady, where he told her to go back to her country.
He did this. There's a Chinese lady who's like, you do not understand what China is actually like. It's a horrible place. And he starts doing this Chinese song kind of thing. Can you imagine if somebody's like, I hate Asians, and they started going bing bong bong, and they were a right winger?
Yeah, they'd be canceled immediately.
They'd rightfully be called racist. But not Hassan. No. No, but I saw a tweet from somebody who works for Ron Paul. Where's that fucking tweet? This one right here. Said Australia's Minister of Defense can't figure out why China would want to build up its military. It's a real head scratcher. And then he posts this picture. It says in quotes, China's threatening our security, NATO leaders say at 2020 summit. And then it shows all these U.S. bases around China. For the record, we have less U.S. bases around China than we used to.
Yeah.
Subic Bay is not a military base for us anymore, which is in the Philippines.
Yeah, we should probably talk to the Filipinos about that.
I can't believe they let us leave.
I can't either, but Durante wanted to change things around over there, and he didn't want the U.S. poking their fingers in it.
The hit on their economy alone, man.
Yeah, I don't think they thought it through very easily.
Yeah. But I love that this guy just drops this as though in 2022, NATO was sitting around bored out of their mind. You're like, we need to attack somebody. You know what? We haven't fucked with the Chinese in a while.
I think that's actually what they think happens.
You know what? You're probably right about that. I like a lot of stuff about Ron Paul, but when it comes to foreign policy, he really is a bad America kind of person.
Yeah, well, we have a lot of that.
Yeah, but I'm just so tired of the glazing that I'm seeing of Chinese lately. And for those who don't like the term glazing, the dick sucking I'm seeing of the communist Chinese lately.
Oh, China, you. Hassan's really bad at it.
You know who started building up their military that had nothing to do with us?
China?
Japan.
Yeah.
And
why we weren't doing enough?
Yeah, because of China. China's running around actually blowing up fishing boats. For all their talk about fishing boats in Venezuela, you know who really does that shit? The Chinese.
Yeah, just as Vietnam, Malaysia, Philippines, and half a dozen other countries nearby. Because, China got caught fishing for giant squid off the coast of Chile. Or Peru, one of the two. I don't know.
Yeah, the idea that we are the reason that China is building up their military. Much of their military buildup had nothing to do with us. It had to do with fucking India.
Yeah. Real quick. Thank you, Shio. Feel free not to read. The fastest way to get kicked out of a gun show is to judge the weapons by taste. Yeah,
I would imagine.
Don't do that.
I'm seeing so much communism glazing lately that I'm tired of it, and it's all right now centered around China. You have a ton of left-wing influencers, for what that's worth, who are out there telling their audience about how great China. Look, it's got a trifold phone that they stole the technology from. Don't act like Huawei or whatever, however you say their retarded name, is just out there innovating. But they're out there preaching the joys of communism, and they never actually talk about the realities of it.
Yeah.
And then along comes this guy who's on the exact opposite side for most things politically. He's from the Ron Paul group, which one of the funniest things I've seen in my lifetime was the Bernie bros. After Bernie's like drops out, they're like, we're going to go libertarian. Huh? The people who don't think government should be involved in anything that's the people you're going to for government control of every industry in the country. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you now have, at least economically, these people who should be all against communism being on the same fucking side. Like, look what the U.S. made the Chinese do. We have all of those little dots on there with the U.S. flag and the airplanes because of China, not the other way around. They're the ones who become aggressive. They're the ones who have been threatening. They're the ones who have built up their navy from 8 boats to world-class fleet. World-class being not counting the US, because fuck you. China's been on the build, and it's not because of something that was said in 2022.
No, it's because they're like that. China is looking out for China's best interest, and it's part of their long-term plan. They have long-term planning because they have a dictator. They are trying to secure food so that they're not reliant on other countries as much. Right now, they're very reliant on US and Brazil for a lot of their food imports. So they're going to try and expand their territory by just annexing it and hoping nobody will have enough balls to do anything about it. And it's been working. They've been overfishing a lot of their own areas, so they're having to expand. And they don't give a damn about the environmental impact. They don't give a damn about boundaries. They care about feeding their own people. And I'm telling you, they're going to start going into other countries before too long if they're not checked, because nobody is stopping them. If you think of the waterways as territory, they've already taken the Rhineland.
Now, to my point about liberals sucking, I don't know if you saw this, Jack. All of these things come together. I'm seeing the glazing of the Chinese. We have the MAGA dad kills his daughter. And then we have this story out of New Jersey. I'm going to let him tell the story, and then we're going to talk about the reality of it.
And if you could just tell me again why you said that you came out tonight.
So I've never protested before in my entire life, but
he's crying, man. He is so worked up by what happened. Don't worry, we'll get to what happened. He's so worked up that he's got to turn away and wipe away tears, Jack.
So,
It's all right.
I watched 4th and 5th grade kids run away from our own government. I never want to see that again.
I watched 4th and 5th grade kids run away from our own government.
Is he going to turn away to wipe his vagina too?
Let's talk about the story. So, at a bus stop in New Jersey, there's some kids waiting for the bus. ICE pulls up away from the children. They get out of their car. They don't look at the children. They don't come near the children. But the children, having been so goddamn scared by their parents and the media, take off running because ICE is coming.
Yeah, this is a product of parents and teachers. The ICE is going to snatch you up like a boogeyman. Also, make it a rule in your life not to come near children. Just saying.
This man is crying that the gun is bad, man. The kids had to run from him. Those kids didn't have to run. And if they had decent parents, they would have known that. Unless, little Jesus was there and he was illegal.
Yeah, also, it's called fleeing. And if they are after you, you're just stacking charges, kid. So that's not helpful. Just saying.
You idiots have turned ICE into the boogeyman.
Yep. You're inspiring the fear you think that ICE is inspiring. That's all you guys.
And you are standing here as a grown-ass man crying about children misunderstanding something and freaking out.
Oh man. I'm upset because people I don't know did something.
I've seen children cry because Santa Claus was there and he's scary to them.
Yeah, it's some strange guy in a red suit telling you to come sit on his lap. I mean, that'd make me cry too.
So somebody should tell this guy about it. Can you imagine how upset he would be if he knew children were terrified that the Santa Claus was coming for him?
Yeah, imagine Easter when somebody dresses up in one of those scary ass bunny costumes.
God, some of those are so bad.
Like, I've got some Cadbury eggs for you, Billy. Oh my God.
Yeah, I just saw this and I was like, hey, at what point do you actually start looking into what happened? Because he said he saw this, by the way, and as far as I know, there's no video of the actual incident, which would mean, hey, you're just hanging out at bus stops where little kids are, huh?
Yeah. if this even happened then.
Well, the school board is the one who came out and said it happened, and I have no doubt that it actually did, because
I
they
have no
had
doubt some variation of it happened.
they've been scaring the shit out of these children. How many stories have we seen? I snatches a child.
Yeah, they've turned them into Krampus.
They said that one kid, the 5-year-old one, they're like, ICE detains a child. And the real story is dad ran away and they needed and they finally get him and they need somewhere to give this child. They are literally outside of the child's home, but the mom will not open the door to take the child.
Yeah, they abandoned their kid because of shitty parents.
Yeah.
So that kid's better off in foster care, which is a horrifying thing to think about. But at least maybe he'll find a family that loves him.
These are the things that they're lying to kids about, and the kids are hearing it all. Kids are on social media. Kids hear their parents talking about it. They're taking their kids to these protests like they did in 2020.
Yep.
And then like
schools. I'm sorry.
Can you believe the children are scared? Yeah, I can.
Yeah, because they're instilling that propaganda in them. And did you see the school protest walkouts they're doing?
No.
Yeah, a lot of schools are staging these protests where the kids get to go out and leave school and go protest. It's been like 4th grade through like 9th or 10th. You're telling me a 14-year-old isn't looking for an excuse to ditch school? Fuck off. But they've been vandalizing places. They vandalized a Walmart. They vandalized a McDonald's. They were throwing rocks at cars. And in one instance, the principal is standing there and some dude walked up. This is just the other day. It's all over social media. The camera guy walks up to the principal and is like, you gonna do anything about this? And the guy's basically like, no.
The woman refused to open the door because she was illegal too. They told her they're not there for her. They weren't trying to arrest her. And she was still inside her home, which there are rules about that. And without a warrant, they couldn't have arrested her. I get what you're saying, that she was scared because of that, but there was literally no reason for her not to open the door. And the point being, the story gets told in this way. They arrested a kid, except for they didn't. They took that kid into custody because there was nowhere else to go with him. They couldn't just leave him on the street.
Yeah, well, I mean, think of the headline if they had done that.
Yeah.
ICE abandons child.
But they tell these scary ass stories to these kids, and these kids, they don't know any better. They don't know that these guys are lying to them. And they detained a child. They deported children. No, they didn't. They deported the parents, and the parents took the kids with them. But that's not how it's said. They make it sound like little Jesus is walking down the street, and they're like, he looks Mexican. Send him to El Salvador. Which hasn't happened. I am more shocked that these kids aren't constantly crying with snot bubbles and peeing with the way they're scaring them with this shit.
Yeah. I am disgusted by how much propaganda is shuffled down kids' faces these days.
They present it like, do you see how scared these kids are? Like, the kids being scared is where you should stop the story. I knew grown-ass adults who were scared that gay people were going to be thrown into camps, and it was a real fear for them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've told a story about that from my own personal life many times.
But their real fear isn't a real thing.
No, they just buy into the propaganda that's being put out.
This is a true story. When going back to my Norfolk days again, I'm at home one day. Mom has gone shopping. I'm the only one who stayed home, and I'm playing in the backyard. And something in my head says, Satan's in the house. And I was like, nah. And like, if you go in the house, Satan's going to get you. I was like, wait, no. I stayed outside for 2 hours until my mom got home because I had convinced myself the literal devil was in my home. And I was genuinely paranoid about it. Was he in there? Probably left when mom opened the door.
He's just getting a sandwich, monkey.
But it was something I convinced myself of. I had no reason to think it other than my brain just like, let's fuck with him a little bit. fear can be real, but not actually be about something real. You can
Yeah,
be
you're experiencing fear over a falsity.
you can be afraid of things that aren't real. You can be afraid of things that there's no reason for you to actually be afraid of. Their genuine fear is meaningless here. It's the reason they have that fear. And the reason they have that fear isn't because ICE is out there snatching up kids. It's because that's the lie the left is telling children. First Rowdy, thank you. Also, last thing, looked old books of math, and it's meant to be done left to right. The whole thing with parentheses and exponents was for other branches of math. Jack's turn. Thank you. Yeah, I told you when we were growing up, we were just taught left to right.
Yeah.
And Richard, thank you. They want to make it a no-win situation where the only correct answer is for ICE to do nothing at all. True. Absolutely true.
Absolutely.
But thank you, JR. Appreciate that. Sorry, Jay Richardson. I can read. I can read. No, not real well.
Well, we know you can do math though, so there's that.
I can do math, but that's because math is logical and English isn't.
It's a different type of logic. You're using a different part of your brain.
But it's not. Because literally READ can be said two different ways. There's no logic in that.
There is, because it's multiple definitions.
But it's the same word.
No, it's the same symbols on a page.
It's the same letters, yes.
Context. Thank you, God Ready, for the generous tip. And unless I have it in the equations, it's only left to right. It was then added in the 50s to bring in parentheses and exponents and normalize it like Cal Now source. He gave me a link here, resourceaholic.com. Time for bed. Night, chatters. Good night, God Ready. Thank you very much.
Again, there was a good reason to implement PEMDAS. Or PEMDAS. I always say it wrong. It's because you have to unify the. I don't want to say. I will call it a rule. It's not a law. It's a rule. It's a convention. Because otherwise, you can get two different answers to the exact same set of symbols. Kind of like read versus read. Anyway, I just wanted to show our little crying friend here and talk about how once a fucking again, they're lying about what happened. Because if they told the truth, people, the kids just got scared for no reason.
Yeah, the kids psych themselves out. We've all done it as kids. It's easy to do, especially when somebody tells you like a ghost story and you're too young to handle it. You get scared. You see an empty building and you hear a noise from inside there, like a shutter or a piece of glass or a evil clown. Then you're going to get a little freaked out. It's easy to do. You gave an example, but kids get scared because they're small and vulnerable prey animals.
Thank you, Bubba. How you doing, my friend? Hope you've been well.
Hey,
to
Bubba.
give some sweetness to my my girlfriend gave me 60 tiny handcrafted letters of why she loves me. I might need to marry her. That's actually really cool, dude.
Yeah, you might have to marry her.
Why 60?
Why not?
Is there,
her hand got tired. She didn't want to do 100.
You don't have to answer, but that does seem like there's a significance there, doesn't it? Like, are you a 60 pump man or something like that? I don't want to guess because I go to weird shit like 60 pumps.
Yeah, that is a bit personal.
Decadia, thank you. Nobody ever seems to ask the question, do they even want to become citizens? You mean I can work without paying taxes? Well, ask the Puerto Ricans that.
Yeah.
I use them as an example because we're always, they are just as American as you are. Yeah, except for I actually claim to be one and they only do it when it serves their purpose. When it's time to actually vote to become a state, they're like, nah, no thanks, bro. That you little kind of too many rules with that. I do think many of them would become citizens. The whole paying taxes thing, let's be honest, most of them still wouldn't pay taxes. Okay. These are not. I saw a thing the other day from the Cato Institute that said economically, immigrants are way better for America. We make way more money off of immigrants than we spend. And my very first thought was, what if you take Elon Musk out of the equation? Because most immigrants aren't like Elon Musk, and he does pay enough taxes that it would kind of swing things a little towards the immigrants. Very few people have enough money where that's the case, though. Most of them are not. And the easy answer to this, to people who bring up this Cato Institute study, ask them why other countries aren't like, hey, come to us. Because by their logic, you could make your country ridiculously rich. They said, if I remember correctly, several $1 trillion that the U.S. economy has benefited from both illegal and legal immigrants, just immigrants overall, in the last 30 years, something like that. You're telling me no other country looked at our finances and went, wait a minute. All of those Mexicans raising their kids have made them very wealthy. We should try that. Where are all these other countries that are looking at our example?
Well, I mean, Europe is importing a lot of people, and that's working out great for them.
Well, they also do things like they point out that there's certain spending that has to be done, and like military spending, which they get wrong because only some of military spending is mandatory. They're like, because this is mandatory spending, when you bring in more immigrants and they have to pay some taxes, they don't pay federal taxes. Then you're actually getting more money going to this thing that you already have to pay for. Like, okay, let's, for argument's sake, say that's true. They add $1,000 to the overall pool for the military and everything else that the government pays for. And then how much is coming out for Pedro? How much did he get in food stamps last month? I bet you within a year he got more than $1,000. But it's a lie that they tell. Instead of just going, yeah, it costs us money. And you know what? You could do that. It's costing us money, but we think it's a worthy sacrifice. I would think you were wrong, but at least you'd be honest. But instead, they're like, no, it's actually very beneficial. Very beneficial. That's why so many rich people just move a whole bunch of Mexicans into their house, because it actually makes their family richer. You know, Guadalupe occasionally cleaning the house down the street adds to that $1 billion that Elon has. It's such an asinine way of thinking about the world. Oh, Cato, you've fallen so far.
Yeah, it's pretty disappointing.
Well, again, a lot of it has to do with the influx of, I'm just going to say, commies that came when Bernie busted.
Yeah.
Like, no, we're going to go be libertarians. Libertarians and communists can't exist together.
Not in real life, no.
In concept, they can't exist together. One is all about
but
government control, and the other one is all about government getting the fuck out of your life.
dude, we have anarcho-communists.
Oh, God.
These people are fucking Looney Tunes.
I wanted to put this one just on the screen because I think it's worth talking about, and I need to make a slight correction to it. It says slavery was standard practice throughout human history until it was ended by white people. No. Until it was ended in the West by white people.
Yeah, it's still going on in like Yemen and a lot of the Middle East, actually.
And it is important to make that distinction, because there's a certain religion on the rise that we might want to keep an eye on.
No, the West is capitulating to them. Look at how fast Britain is surrendering, recognizing Sharia law and stuff like that. They don't realize how bad that is going. I mean, they do, and they're so self-loathing that they would rather be a patriarchal, dominating society of backward weirdos.
Slavery still exists. Yeah, absolutely. But if you read this, remember it says standard practice, and I do think you could make the argument it's not standard practice throughout the world right now.
Yeah.
Because of the westernization of it. But it was white people. Yeah, there's no getting around that. And it largely comes from Judeo-Christian values is what leads to it. For being honest, the reformations of Christianity is what really leads to the end of slavery. I know we're not supposed to give religion any kind of credit for the clear good that they've done in our world, but it is amazing to me how many people don't know that slavery still does exist, and how many of them who at least recognize that it ended in the West don't give credit to the people who ended. Yeah, there were a lot of dumb honkies who were still like, oh, I don't want to work my own field. But much like women getting the right to vote, women didn't give themselves the right to vote. They couldn't. They didn't have the power to. You know who gave them the right to vote?
Ugh, dumb men.
White men. At the time, it wasn't a real big thing for black guys to be voting. They had the right, but
popular idea.
They had the right, but there were certain, let's call them poll taxes, for lack of a better term, that kind of kept them from doing so.
And spooky ghosts.
Lots of spooky ghosts. It's just amazing to me that the kind of people that you need to have this conversation with, they love to tell you how horrible white people are for the absolute atrocities that have happened in history, but they never talk about who ended those atrocities. It was other white men. That's who did it. Did you guys see the great speech Rubio gave in Europe recently? I watched part of it and it kind of bored me, if I'm being honest. Marco's not the best speaker, but his point was fine. Talking about he starts out talking about how the people in the room, because where is he? He's at the I forget what conference it is, but basically Europeans, how we all stood together against communism, and we were like, this is a bad thing, and I'm paraphrasing, basically it's on the rise again. Oh, Satan, sorry I missed this, says can't hide forever.
It's true.
And Tyra, thank you. The West is culturally Christian. The problem with being culturally Christian is these people take what they can from Scripture while making government as God and how it's responsible for taking care of people. So someone else's money is taking care of it. I would say, I get what you're saying. I do. But the problem isn't with Christianity. You have to remember that the people who built this place were very Christian, except for maybe Jefferson. But these are pretty Christian folks, and they built a system that was fine. The problem comes in with the people who, the kind of people who misunderstand the Bible. I mean, we see it every Christmas, right? With the Mary was an immigrant. No, she wasn't. No, she wasn't. And it's a mistelling of what the words mean to be. We have to take care of all people, without actually investigating what even taking care of people means, right? The whole giving a guy to fish versus teaching him to fish. Which one of those two is actually helping that man? Well, they both do. But one's only going to help him for a meal. The other one, he now can help himself. And we've gone from teaching people to help themselves to people can't help themselves. We have to do it for them. It used to be expected that you took care of yourself. And I don't think you can necessarily tie that to Christianity unless you're talking about a complete misunderstanding of Jesus's teachings. Did that make sense?
Yeah, I would argue a lot of it's intentional twisting.
Oh,
but,
sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I agree.
Thank you, Assassin of the Grave. Forcible displacement of a native population is classified as genocide by the UN, unless it's Europe, Canada, Australia, or America, of course. Yeah,
Well, only America's that super evil, though.
The UN definition of things, I get what you're saying and why you would bring it up, because the left really loves the UN definitions. Like, they'll be able to tell you exactly what it says if you bring up Jews. I'm not going to say why. But when it comes to, I don't know, giving away half of the state of Oklahoma to Indians, what's wrong with that? Or from the river to the sea, which, by the way, would necessarily classify as a genocide. That's one of my favorite things about that whole Gaza war. These people chanting there's a genocide from the river to the sea. So you're talking about you're literally talking about genociding the Jews.
Yeah, but that's okay when they do it.
Yeah, because hey, it's retaliatory genocide.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a funny thing that happens with the UN if you actually look into it. It is not only a worthless organization, but it is a vastly hypocritical one. I mean, these are people that put China on the fucking human rights, North Korea on the Human Rights Council.
I'm sorry, you said that name wrong. I have to correct you. It's China.
China.
You got to pronounce the D.
Go look at the kind of countries that have been on the Human Rights Council in the UN. It is a who's who of the worst countries in the world for human rights.
Yeah.
If you read it, the only thing you're like, how did Pol Pot miss the list? Yeah, because they are really bad, man. The problem with the UN is that it is made up of largely lefties, mostly European lefties, and their policies make no sense past just saying something out loud. I just saw this again where it said silence is consent. And if you're talking about something like genocide, right? Silence is consent. Okay, that sounds profound. It's not, but it sounds profound in that sense. But now apply it to rape victims. How profound is silence is consent when you're talking about rape?
Yeah, if you just keep their mouths shut and sealed, then.
If you're talking about rape, saying silence is consent means it's no longer rape.
Yeah. But silence is also violence, depending on how they need to use it. So if you're a mime, you are a psychopath.
But the people who come up with this stuff, all they're doing is trying to shame you into caring about their cause. And if you don't say it, you're just going along with it. Yeah, the problem with that is you just said something really fucking stupid. I saw an argument. Who was it? Was it Denims? I think it was Denims, where she was making an argument about incest.
Yes, that was Denims.
She actually... People are not going to like that I say this, but please understand the full context of what I'm about to say. Using the arguments for gay marriage, we should not have any incest laws unless it's forcible, right? Which is then a whole different crime. It's rape or child molestation, whichever you want to call it. But if you're just talking, think about these talking points. You can't tell people who they love. It's two consenting adults. The government shouldn't be in their business. You shouldn't be in their bedroom. Which one of those doesn't apply? And I've said this since the whole gay marriage argument went on. The gay marriage argument opens the door to... Back at the time, you had people going, oh, so now you can marry a horse. And they actually ruined the point because that is just absurd. You can't have a consenting horse, Shank.
Cenk would disagree, but yeah.
Cenk, it's no consenting horses. But there are
Blow me,
things
Wilbur.
where you can point to actual humans like brother and sister, be like, they should not be humping. But if you apply all of the arguments of the gay marriage debate to them, there's no reason they shouldn't be allowed to.
Well, and you could argue the same thing, unfortunately, for kids, which is what they're trying to do now.
And that's where there is a slight difference because they did throw in consenting adults.
Yeah, but it's not that far of a stretch.
No, and because of other things that are going on too. Like Alan Dershowitz is getting a lot of shit right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rightfully so. You bullied a person into saying that you weren't the one who raped them when they were a child. Good job. But he wrote an article saying that we need to get rid of statutory rape laws. And one of his arguments in the article is that if we allow girls of unspecified age to get abortions, how can you then argue that they don't have the right to consent to sex? You're right. We shouldn't be letting these kids have abortions, but that's not where they're taking it. They're going the other way.
Yeah.
So when you add that in, suddenly now you have, as gross a term this is, consenting children, and now they can legally hump kids.
People are so disgusting.
Yeah.
Real quick. Thank you, Tyrai. The Taliban have recently enacted slavery laws. That's true. I saw that article. They are following their religion correctly, yet we live in a world where we are being told that wrong is right and right is wrong.
Yes.
Yes, this is the pernicious evil of every culture is beautiful and on the same level. There are too many people that do not understand Islam advocating for Islam, Hassan.
Oh, God, yeah.
And they do not realize what they're setting themselves up for. And the British courts now recognizing Sharia law. Oh, good luck, Britain. You are in for a world of hurt.
For the record, I haven't really addressed the kitty cat on the screen. I saw this picture, it was sent to me, and I just loved it. I don't know who it is, but I love calicos like this. The mostly white calicos are some of my favorite cats. And you got the wink going on, which is just cute.
Yeah, it looks like he's on high issuing commands like, you have done well feeding me, servant.
Mm-hmm.
Can opener 2, get to work.
My state did finally raise the age of consent. I don't understand why the age of consent isn't 18 everywhere.
I don't know. It came from a time when people were getting married younger, I suppose. I don't know.
But even then, I mean, do you know how far back you have to go to it being normal for people to marry like a 14-year-old?
You have to go back to like the 1840s or 50s.
Yeah, I mean, it still happened in the 1940s and 50s. It didn't. Which was it? Jerry Lee Lewis who married his 14-year-old cousin?
Yeah, and Elvis married somebody young too.
Yeah, Priscilla was 14 when they hooked up. That doesn't mean it's something we should be doing.
No, it doesn't make it a good idea.
Yeah, just stop touching kids. Now we live in an age now where they let them actually mature before you start poking them with that thing.
Yeah, stop being icky.
Yeah, it's gross.
I don't know, man. There was I was looking, I think it was in Britain, a trial of a guy that banged a 10-year-old and he got away with it.
Oh.
I was like, you got to be kidding me. How disgusting are your your lawyers and your judges that this shit's getting normalized in your society? There's something sick going on in the world and we need to filter it out. We need to start saying, no, you can't do that.
Speaking of no, you can't do that. Let's put this guy on the screen for a minute.
Oh, God.
Did you watch this?
No.
Timmy Walls came out and he gave this little speech about the upcoming legislative season there in Minnesota. And in it, he says that he's going to work with legislators because They need to hold the federal government accountable for all the money that they cost them. This is a stat that I saw, and I'm not making this up. According to Tim Walz, and I don't know who did the study. I think I saw it on CNN, but don't quote me on that. The state lost in 1 month $47 million worth of people going to work. That's the wages that were lost because they were too afraid to go to work because of ICE. And by the way, he thinks we should pay that. He thinks that us, the rest of America, should pay Minnesota for his people being too lazy and illegal to go to work. You know what 47 million divided by 30,000 is? I do. That means 18,000 people took an entire month off of work if they were making 30 grand.
That's fucking ridiculous. Oh,
because of ICE.
Because they won't cooperate with ICE? Yeah, fuck off.
Tim Walz in this literally says, no other state has had to deal with this.
Yeah, because everybody else is cooperating with ICE, so it's not a real problem.
Yeah, literally every other state is going through the same thing. They're just not throwing the same fit.
Yeah, they're not being a bunch of obstructionist crybabies.
Yeah.
And organizing and advocating for people to interfere with ICE activities.
They're not victims here, but according to the study that was done, they lost something like overall, I think it was $200 million, maybe $300 million because of ICE.
If this asshole would have directed his law enforcement officials, him and the mayors, to cooperate, we would have 2 people that aren't dead.
Yeah.
But they've stirred up so much hatred and animosity toward ICE through their political bullshit that a bunch of dumb retards go out and cause problems, and a couple people got killed, and probably several more have criminal records that went otherwise. But real fast, thank you, Tyrai, again. Isaiah 5:8-30, 20 is, woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who turn darkness to light and light to darkness, who replace bitter with sweet and sweet with bitter. The rest of the scripture is provided for reference. Yeah, and a lot of religions teach this. Even a lot of like nature religions teach this sort of thing, where if you corrupt something, bad things happen.
Yeah. Because
you're letting something in that should not be in. It never ends well.
It's the tool of manipulators. It's the tool of the corrupt.
It's the tool of evil. And when you justify bad behaviors and justify things that are unhealthy for society, your society eventually will corrode.
Can I also point out that I was not watching this? I just clicked to a random point to make sure I had Walz on the screen, because he only talks for like 4 or 5 minutes. I didn't watch any past his opening statement. And just in a quick grab, I got him with his hand out all gay.
Yeah. He looks like he's asking for money after he cups somebody's balls.
I have a feeling he's one of those guys who joined the military so he could shower with men. He wasn't good enough to be an athlete, so he's like, I'll join the military so I can see wiener.
There's so many things about this guy that just hit the creepy radar.
Oh, God, yeah.
And he seems like the kind of guy that would get caught looking in people's windows and rubbing one out 50 years ago. Like a window peeper, or somebody that would have mirrors glued to the top of their shoe so they could look up girls' skirts or dudes' shorts. There's something about him that's just sleazy.
He eats hot dogs for the shape. Yes. Connect. Thank you. Unpopular take. Files release also taints jury pool. I don't know if that would be an unpopular take, but you're not wrong.
Well, they're not going to prosecute anyone anyway, so.
Well, at this point, could you? Where could you go where you could be like, no, I haven't heard of that?
Well, I think there's a lot of people that haven't read the files.
Sure, but they have an opinion based on what they've seen, though.
Yeah, probably, but they weren't going to prosecute anyway.
That's true.
Pam Bondi made no effort to get the ball rolling on any of this, and none of these rich people or celebrities are going to go to jail either way. So why not just release all the files?
Again, though, I'd argue I'd like to see the stuff in the files that shows somebody should be prosecuted.
Yeah, well, you're going to have to get a scuba gear and a submarine to go down to the Mariana Trench and get it.
The Army wouldn't promote a man with a floppy jaw. Yeah, they would. A lot of old generals have that jaw look. I don't know. They got jowls, man. But anyway, yeah, Timmy thinks we should pay for his state causing a bunch of stink and the people not going to work.
Of course he does.
I know that those people who work at those Somali daycares where they don't actually do anything had to stay home and not pretend they have a job, and that's really sad. That is tragic. But I ain't paying you shit, Bucker.
Yeah, he's the one that got them in this mess. He can raise his own money to get out of it.
If you would have let them do their job, it wouldn't have cost you a fucking thing. Tyra, I thank you. That is why we ordained for the children of Israel that whoever takes life, unless as punishment for murder or mischief in the land, it will be as if he killed all of humanity, and whoever saves a life, it will be as if he saved all of humanity. I'm assuming that is a scripture that I do not know my scripture. But yeah, that's I saw Andrew Wilson and what's his name? Dave Smith arguing about morality, because Andrew's one of those people who believes the only way you can have morality is if you're Christian. You have to have God telling you what's right and wrong. And his argument is, well, what in the natural world shows that you shouldn't kill people? And the simple answer to that is it goes against the survival of the species.
Yeah,
murdering ourselves.
Yeah, you're thinning out the tribe. So,
but Dave Smith isn't smart enough to come up with that concept, so he just kind of, why do you keep bringing this up? It was a really bad thing. You can have morality without Christianity. In fact, Christianity morality is based on simple, observable human nature.
Yeah, there's a lot of the what we call pagan, which just means non-Christian religions that have similar things. Don't kill people of your tribe, that sort of thing. There is always, you want to maintain a healthy tribe or healthy community, you have to have rules. It's kind of human nature, because you're going to have to develop some standards if you want to get together and actually work together and survive, because humans are a social species. We need each other. There's nobody that can survive alone for extended periods of time without having serious issues.
Francis says,
you have occasional hermits, but that's it.
Francis says, I think on a societal level, Christianity helps. I agree. I do. I don't think Christianity is the evil. Somebody pointed out in chat just a moment ago, I'm agnostic. I do not believe in organized religion. But if I look at the religions and I'm like, which one of these, if I had to live under one of these systems, which one would I prefer? I'm going Christianity 100%.
Yeah, because look at the advancements that have been made under Christianity in the West.
Yep.
Christian nation blah. I can't talk today. I'm really tired. Christian nations have advanced hundreds of years further than any of the other time frames, especially after the reforms. So you're talking, once they got rid of the Spanish Inquisition and totalitarian misinterpretations, you're talking cultural advancements and technological leaps forward that have never been done under any other group. And I'm so tired of the Muslim apologists saying, well, the Muslims gave us this technology. No, that's ones they preserved when they took over the Byzantines and a dozen other countries. So that's a bunch of bullshit. The Muslims are a warlord religion. They didn't advance much of anything.
Tyra, thank you again. What you read is from the Quran. It's from a Quranic verse, specifically Surah I don't care. This is the Quran reference that they say Muslims are to do that. Yet they leave off the fact that it was aimed at Israel and not them. Islam has to lie to survive.
Yeah, it's a war religion.
Yeah. I would argue Islam is not a religion. It's an army.
Yeah, it's a militaristic philosophy.
Yeah.
You guys it as religion to create diehard adherents. It's very much like a cult. You know, you want people that are blindly loyal, so you couch it in religion to deceive people into becoming incredibly loyal. Communism has done this very, very well. Islam is just the precursor to it. Yeah, see, Faithless, same page.
Much like communism, yeah. I was watching a historical video the other day, a documentary about the rise of the Ottoman Empire. And it was funny to me how little did this documentary mention that they were Muslims.
Why would they want to do that?
Because, I mean, it is, especially when you talk about modern day, you know, like they're just conquering the Muslim lands. Really?
You mean regaining them?
Don't forget, the Muslims, pop up 1,400 years ago?
Yeah, it was the 7th century.
Of the three major Abrahamic religions, they are the youngest.
Yeah.
They had to take over all of the land that they had because they literally didn't fucking exist. But nobody calls them colonizers.
No, not at all. And
No.
what's happening in Britain is cultural enrichment. It's not a colonization.
No.
No. Europe is not being colonized right now, you guys. Although they did that in Spain a long time ago when they took Spain over.
We don't talk about that anymore. I watched several videos by one guy who, in his videos, he always says, history may not rhyme, but history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme.
Yeah, that's an idiom that's been around for a long time. It's very true.
Yeah, I disagree. I think it does repeat itself. It might not be an exact replica because, you know, things change a little bit. But if you apply the actual what happened, it's the same fucking thing.
Yeah, well, that's the general meaning of that expression, is that it's similar things will happen.
But that's why I don't like it, because it leaves open the possibility of a different outcome.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, so that's why I don't like it. I just like history repeats itself, because it does. And we're not paying attention to the Muslim uprisings.
Well, I think Europe within the next 10 years is going to be in a real tight spot, because they're not going to be able to get rid of these people. And there's going to be civil conflict, and the locals are not going to win because they're not armed. And they're not used to violent conflagration because we've been doing it all. So they don't have veterans, they don't have firearms, they don't have the knowledge of how to fight back. And you've imported a bunch of people that know how to do that, who are military age, and your population is aging. And by the time you recognize the truth of the matter, you're going to be too old to push back.
Thank you, Tansu. On the topic about lying in Islam, it's called Taqiyya. You have to lie in order to save face. Well, I mean, that's like Jack and Faithless pointed out with communism or Democrats. I was talking about this yesterday. How many of the things that we know Democrats stand for do they refuse to say they actually stand for?
Yeah,
they absolutely flat out no. And we've seen this going back to the 50s with Democrats who were clearly communists, and they're called on it like, what do you mean communist? Just because I was at that meeting for all the communists and I have the manifesto memorized forward, backward, and upside down. What do you mean I'm a communist? I'm a good old-fashioned American capitalist.
Yeah. Lying is permissible to non-Muslims, and it's the same thing with communists.
Yeah, you can lie to get in. No bad tactics, Jack.
Yep. And I think Any group that says lying to people is acceptable behavior is probably pretty sketchy, and you should definitely question everything they say
Yes.
because they're
You,
lying to you too.
yeah. How would you believe them after that?
Yeah, I don't know, but I guess that's the benefit of having dumb followers. You have useful idiots that'll believe whatever you say, and they're like, "Well, they won't do that to me." Dark to
Look,
dur.
I appreciate somebody who tells me I'm going to lie to you. Hey, look, at some point I'm going to lie to you. Like, cool. I'll look out for it. Rather
Yeah.
than somebody's like, I would never lie to you.
Ugh.
That guy's lying right there.
Yeah.
Look, I try not to lie as much as possible, Jack, but I don't say I may have said I never lie, but that was being hyperbolic. I go out of my way not to. Case in point, the other day, my wife tried on, she's lost a ton of weight, and she tried on one of her old shirts. And from the front, it looked fine. Then she turned sideways, like, baby, take that off. She's like, why? I'm like, because that makes you look pregnant. Because of how much weight she lost, it was a bigger shirt. So when it comes off of her boobs, it cascaded down and
Oh, yeah.
rounded. Yeah. Like, you don't wear that. Could I put it in a nicer way? Probably. But again, why would I lie to her and let her go out looking pregnant? And then somebody says, are you pregnant? And she has a rough day.
Oh, there's that. Yeah, but
Yeah.
then people won't hit on your wife.
People don't hit on my wife. I'm scary looking.
Yeah, but you're not always with her, and you have to worry about that sort of
She ain't
thing.
allowed to go out without me.
Speaking of Muslims,
I'm a red pilled guy. My woman only goes where I tell her to.
give Monkey $50 a month to hear his lectures.
Buy my course. Look, man, I'm trying to make money here. Why are you calling me out like that?
Frosted said, long story short, Monkey needs a place to crash.
Actually, she appreciated it because me and my wife have an ongoing argument. Oh, let's get dickhead off my screen. I'm talking about my wife. I like her. We have an ongoing argument because I will like say something nice to her and she never believes me. Like, dude, she has dropped like I'm doing the math in my head, almost a quarter of her body weight.
Wow.
And I'm like, baby, you are getting so small. She's like, no, I'm not. You have to say that. That is her belief, is that I'm her husband, so I only say nice things to her because I have to say nice things. And my retort is always, you didn't just meet me.
Right? Like, you know how this works now. Stop it.
That you should have known better than that when we were still dating. I don't just say things to make you feel better. If that's what I was doing, I would find something that is true that I could highlight, right?
Well, see, I think she's doing that to fish for a second compliment. Like, you're
She's
just
not.
saying that. Say
No,
it again.
I wish that's what it was, but no, she's really like that.
She needs to stop it.
And then if somebody else says the exact same thing I do, then she'll accept it. But she honestly thinks that I just say these things because I have to, because we're married. I'm like, that's not who I am, baby. I would keep my mouth shut rather than giving you a compliment that I don't believe. But even I mean, I've lied to our audience. I've had to before for various personal reasons. Things you guys don't need to know about me. Nothing important, but like where I live exactly.
Yeah.
There are times I've absolutely lied about location.
Well, that's a safety issue.
Yeah. But for me to say I never lied would be a lie. But you do have people out there who try to pretend that, no, I just always tell the truth. And that guy is going to sell you a car that not only doesn't work, it explodes when you try to turn it on. Because he's a bad person. Muhammad. That was explosive. Westerners, I cannot preach this to you enough. Muslims aren't like us. I don't care if you're Jewish, Christian, even Buddhist. They're not even Westerners. If you're a Buddhist, you're not like Muslims. And the more you treat them like you're the same, like humanity's all the same, we all have the same values, the worse that's going to turn out for you. You let them in. No, they're the peaceful ones. Have you read their book?
Yeah.
Have you seen the kind of people they promote? I mean, we saw this with Gaza, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, let them be their own people. Fine, they can be their own people. And they have an election. And not only do they elect a terrorist group, they elect the worst of the two who were running.
Yeah.
Do you know there are polls that have been done recently that show if the West Bank voted, they would vote in, if they could, they would vote in Hamas to be their leaders?
Yeah.
But don't worry, guys. They're just they're peaceful people who they just want to live their lives.
Yeah, and murder a bunch of people that wear tiny hats. That's what they want to do.
Now, if you're talking about how our internal organs work, yeah, they work the same. Their hearts pump, their blood moves, carries oxygen to their brains. But the things that they believe in and how deeply they believe them, way different. Way different. They don't just get mad for a couple of days and go out and have a flag over their shoulder because a couple of kids got scared for no reason at a bus stop. They hold on to that shit forever.
Yeah, it's a generational blood feud.
Yeah.
They have taught their kids to have abject hatred for people that the kids don't even have a good explanation for. It's just, this is how it is. You hate these people. These are your enemies. That's not a productive way to build civilizations.
Muhammad's conquest, you know what? We'll just drop that point because I was wrapping this up. I'll just say, look at the different conquests of Muslim leaders over the decades, over the centuries, and see how much of that turned out good for the people that they were coming into, and how much of it came simply from blood feuds. You know, we often talk about the Israeli Muslim blood feud over there, but it's not just with them; it's with Christians too. You guys do realize that when the Ottoman Empire takes over Constantinople, that wasn't Jews in there.
No, that was Christians.
That was Christians.
Yep.
So you Christians who are out there like, but they're good people just like us. Pay attention. Pay attention.
People shit on the Crusades all the time, but they don't understand that was a defensive war to keep Europe safe because they saw once they killed the Byzantines, they will invade anywhere and just slaughter everybody.
Yep. Pay attention.
That's how you get Vlad, the Impaler, who protected the gateway to Europe at the time.
Yep. All right. And on that note, we're going to wrap this one up, Jack. Guys, thanks for hanging out with us. I really do hope you guys, whether you have loved ones or not, romantic loved ones, I hope you had a good Valentine's Day. Mine was pretty good. Thank you for the donations. You guys are so awesome. Jack, anything you want to show?
I dropped the link to a cool video. As always, thank you guys so much for the tips. Thanks for all the support you give us and coming out night after night. You guys are awesome. And we really do appreciate you.
Crusades happened for a reason. They did. And history has, I don't want to put this, Jack,
been revised.
Yeah. It has been used to just be like, the Christians just wanted to take over everything. Yeah, go read about the fall of Constantinople. I'm sorry, Istanbul. My mistake. Jack, a pleasure as always.
Always glad to be here.
Take care of yourselves, guys. We love you, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye now.
Bye, everybody.
Palestine doesn't want a two-state solution because one state will be Israel. Yeah, as I said before, if you believe in a two-state solution, then you are Zionist, because you believe that there should be a state of Israel. And if you don't believe in it, you actually support genocide. It's not something people want to know, huh?
Probably not, but they're not going to admit that they're the bad guys.
Well, I mean, is all genocide bad?
I don't know. I haven't Haven't
Well,
been
let me give
involved
you
in any.
let me give you a hypothetical. There is a group of people, for argument's sake, let's say they live in a place called Hollywood, right?
Okay.
And they're all child rapists, right? If we got rid of them, technically that would be a genocide. Would it be a bad thing?
Well, it's a bad analogy because pedophiles and communists aren't real people. Those are demons in the shape of humans. So I'm gonna have to abdicate that this is not a worthy example for this analogy.
We always point to things like the term genocide. It's like it's a horrible thing. There can be some uses for it.
It worked pretty well for Genghis Khan.
If there was a pedophile genocide, I'd be okay with it.
Again, that's just purging the world of demons. So,
Guys, take care. We'll see you on the next one. Love you. Bye now.
bye, everybody.
Yes, I just made an argument for genocide. I don't care. I'm old and going to be dead soon anyway.